things will be, as you say on Earth, getting much hotter. By that we mean that the changes that beings have waited for so long and have predicted, and the time passed, and have predicted, and the time passed, and have predicted, and once again that time passed. Now the reality that of course the time passed because it was third dimensional time, and no one could perceive anything that was so based on an interdimensional experience while they were locked in their third dimensional consciousness. It is for this reason that we have directed you to have your class on assisting people to remember their interdimensional experiences. Now, what we would like to say with you today, Suzanne, is that you did remember those experiences. You forgot many of the details, but you forgot the person that you were when you had the experiences. That person that you were is the person that you are right now. And exactly who is that person? That person is the you that is connected to your multidimensional self. That person is the you that calls to us, that listens to us, and that does whatever you believe you receive from us. And we want you to know that if you believe that you receive something from us, you are correct. For belief is a recognition. And when you recognize that you have received a communication from us, then it goes from your higher multidimensional mind into your physical brain. Now we would like you to take a moment of this now and feel how your multidimensional mind, in your terms you might say it somewhat floats over your head. Actually, it is floating over your pineal gland. And it is your personal light receptor. And your personal light receptor is something that every single human has, even the Illuminati. Everyone has it. However, like all receptors, it needs to be plugged in and turned on. And this is what many people do not do. As you plug in your personal light receptor into your pineal gland, what you are actually doing is that you are saying, I am ready for active duty. I am ready to receive my orders, and I am ready to fulfill those orders to the greatest of my ability within that now. And we would like to thank you for a lifetime of receiving our orders. Now, for many, many years, you were unable to document those receptions because how could they be important? They were just to you, and you weren't important, so who cared? But then finally, when you were in your final educational system and you had to write a journal of your family, you realized that when you write something down in that manner, it clarifies it and you understand more. When we saw that, that was when Maitreya came to you, your Palladian female self. And when Maitreya came to you, she began to speak with you, and you finally wrote it down. And it wasn't just that you wrote down what you were thinking. You wrote down what you could then finally believe that you were receiving from the fifth dimension and beyond. When you write down, you or anyone, when what you receive is written down either via the computer or via paper and pen, it is grounded into the body of Earth. More important than that, well, not actually more important, but of equal importance, when you write it down, you have volunteered to accept that information as real. And when you volunteer to accept that information as real in your world, your entire self-esteem begins to change. Whereas when you were young and you had your many experiences of communicating with many beings, you didn't really think it was real. I mean, how could you be important enough to speak to all the beings that you spoke to? But you could speak to your chickens and to your dogs and to the ants on the ground, but you couldn't really talk to someone who was really important because you were not important. And then you see how it is very important that one sees themselves as important in order to fully and completely accept information that resonates to a frequency far beyond that of third dimensional Earth. Now, the acceptance of this information usually starts by a sense of desperation, by a sense of, this is a really difficult time and I really need your help. That as your mind was expanding to the extent that it could no longer accept the lies and illusions that you were receiving, within that now there were several relationships that ended and several relationships that started. However, not many of them have made it into the now. For not many of the people that you have known have been able to stay with you as you do this, what they would think of as a very weird thing. And so you were alone. But it is lonely when you are a leader, and that is what you are. That is what you have been from that first day when you began to document your experiences. When you document your experiences, you are saying, what I am receiving is important enough that I will document it just in case I ever want to share it with someone else. And yes, indeed, you have shared it with many someone else's, as will all the many others who have that intention awake and aware within their consciousness. We are now able, you are now able, to accept what we will now tell you about the golden circle, as you have called it. You call it a golden circle because you see a circle of golden beings. Now, these beings are in somewhat of a humanoid form, but you're not sure because you only see them from about the middle of their backs up to their heads, and you don't see their faces. You see them almost like liquid golden light, which of course is exactly what they are. And therefore, their form is not static. Their form shifts and wavers. And as this form shifts and wavers, you can hear them communicating with each other. And what they are communicating to each other is how will they, the keepers of the threshold of ascension into the fifth dimension and beyond, how will these beings, these keepers of the threshold, assist the humans? We will assist you to hear more of what you have been hearing. You have only heard bits and pieces, and you were always in a situation where you could not write it down. You could not record it. So therefore, it became lost to your third dimensional memory. But fortunately, you are in constant communication with your fifth dimensional and beyond memory. So you did not forget this circle. Now we would like you to allow yourself to walk up towards that circle. Now, walking is just a word, for it is more that you are floating towards them. And as you begin to float towards them, you perceive yourself in your humanoid form. But as you float closer and closer to them, you begin to see that your humanoid form is turning into a golden form, much like the beings in the circle. By the time you find yourself on the edge of this circle, you are just as golden as they are, and they turn to you and say, "Welcome, welcome to our circle." Now all of them speak telepathically, and all of them speak simultaneously in perfect harmony with each other. And you know that all of them are speaking because it is much like a spoken choir, where each voice represents a slightly different octave. And all these octaves merge and blend into a lovely chorus. Now each one's change the octave, whereas one might be at the lowest octave, then after speaking for a while they will shift and move up an octave, and that person will shift with them until eventually they are on the higher octave, and then they will go back down to the lower octave and go back up to the highest octave. This occurs because they are practicing moving up within these highest sub-octaves of the fifth dimension. They want to go down to the threshold of human thinking, human experience, human perception, and human sense of self, because they are trying to help the humans, but their evolution is so much beyond that of humanity. It would be much like, well, any very high being who is ready and prepared to speak to a representative wearing an earth vessel, but they have to wait until that representative is able to calibrate their frequency. Do you remember when you very first started as the very first person with whom you talked? And you had to go through quite a bit of recalibration, and you had to create your tunnel of light through the lower astral in creating that tunnel of light. And now, as you move up to these golden beings, you can hear them speaking about the tunnels of light that all of the humans are in some stage of realizing that this is their tunnel that they will create with their unconditional love and their multidimensional consciousness. Now, when the forces that were so cruelly indoctrinated into the Illuminati, as you have called them, when they think of this, it is quite terrifying to them, because they have been indoctrinated to believe that that golden light will end their reality. And so as you are here, you can see the many, many souls that are surrounding the circle, uncountable, uncountable souls. And expand your vision out to the furthest edges, and you see those who have been indoctrinated into the darkness. The beings of gold have asked you, will you please, and will you ask others to join you? Will you please walk these edges and send unconditional love and violet fire and say, beloved ones, we, the representatives of the golden ones, who are the guardians of the threshold, wish to tell you that you are unconditionally forgiven. You are unconditionally accepted, and you are unconditionally loved. There is no one that is too dark to be forgiven and loved and accepted unconditionally. For whether you know it or not, by going deep into your darkness and transmuting that deep darkness into the massive light of being a golden one who is a threshold guardian, you have created a very grand service. And your service has been that you have dipped down into the depths of third-dimensional despair, and you have found your way home to your true multidimensional self. And so we, the guardians of the threshold, the golden ones, we say to you, thank you for your service. Thank you for allowing your energy field to flow into a form of one who would have those dark experiences. And we want you to know that you needn't remain on the vast outward lowest frequencies. For we, all of us, all of awakened humanity, are sending you unconditional love. We are sending you violet fire. We are saying, we cannot judge you, for we too have had lives such as yours. And through the great guidance of the golden ones, we have been able to forgive ourselves, to accept ourselves, to love ourselves unconditionally, and transmute ourselves from the lost ones, lost in the darkness, to those moving right in to the arms, into the laps, into the thoughts, into the emotions, into the frequency of these golden ones, of these threshold holders. They wish their circle, their golden circle to expand outwards and down into the lower frequencies until that golden circle touches any and all darkness that still resides on beloved Mother Gaia. Now, they ask that humanity assist, for due to the law of cause and effect, and energy out equals energy back, and polarization into individualization, all of these being the operating system for third-dimensional Gaia. That operating system needs to be mastered before we, the Golden Ones, can deeply and highly and interdimensionally connect Gaia with the golden light of this higher dimensional ascension reality.